Hi guys! A while ago I shared, quite a while ago, I shared my recipe for Swiss Meringue Buttercream, but I actually never got to showing you in detail how to stack a cake and how to cover a cake. I'm not a professional, I have learned everything myself by doing, and so my tutorial is also not going to be perfect, but you will find certain things that you probably will find in professional videos. So you will find troubleshooting tips and so on in the video. Also, I'm using a minimal amount of tools, so you don't need a lot of tools in order to get a straight and nice, beautiful cake using my tips. So let's get started. I want to show you today how to stack a cake in a right way so that it's ready for decoration. So this tutorial is for non-buttercream cake. So this cake has another kind of filling, and that's why it's important to remember a few steps so that your cake will still be stable and won't bulk once you get to decorating it. So the first important thing to do is to use a cake board. So I have a 15 centimeter cake board here, and my cake is also 15 centimeters. This is a tutorial on stacking, so it doesn't come with the recipes. I will, however, link or give you the details for everything that I'm using here in the description box, so just have a look in there. So first of all, I have my Swiss Meringue Buttercream here. The recipe for it will be linked. So I want to add a little bit on your cake board, just like that, so it basically just helps the cake to stick to the cake board. So you can see my cake is just slightly bigger than the cake board, which is good because then I will have, I could trim this off. I'm not gonna butter, but you could trim it off so that your cake is exactly the 15 centimeters. So when you're decorating it, you can use the board as the help, and also the board helps while lifting the cake later on. So now this is a very important part you want to do when you're using a second filling. So I have a cream cheese filling that goes in the cake, and also lemon curd that is gonna go in the bottom. So I want to make a ring along here, which is gonna give stability. So it's gonna keep the cream inside, and it's gonna make it easier for me to decorate the cake. So you want to have your buttercream in a piping bag, and then just pipe this kind of a ring along the edge of the cake. I'm gonna just add a little bit more. And then once you've done that, you have the ring. And what I also like to do is you can use a spoon or a spatula to kind of just even it out a little bit and kind of push it closer to the edge. And then you basically have a space where you can add your filling, and it's gonna be kept inside by this buttercream. So first I'm gonna add a little bit of my lemon curd. I will also link a recipe for this for you. And then I'm adding the filling on top. So it's a cream cheese filling with blueberry. So you want to add this just up until those edges so that it stays inside, even it out. And then we want to carefully add the next layer on top so that it's even on every side. And then what I also like to do is to even out right away with the cream, so with a buttercream. And then we want to do the same thing with the rest of the layers. So again, you want to go around and add this ring first. even it out a little. You could obviously use a cake ring, which is gonna hold everything together and make it even easier for you to decorate, but I wanted to show you how you can also do it without the cake ring. So if you notice that the cream is kind of dripping down, you can pull it up. So wouldn't have this problem if I had the ring, like this. And then add your next layer on top. I guess I accidentally managed to break that one while adding it, but it's not a problem because it's gonna stick anyway. So now I have the cake stacked. I've evened out the cream a little bit where it was kind of looking out, so just with a spatula I went around so that it's nice and even. And now I will pop the cake in the fridge until the butter has, or the buttercream has really hardened. So some of you might be thinking this should have not happened, and how did this happen, and why am I showing this? Well, because it happens sometimes. Even if you do everything right, it can still happen that you have the filling kind of pouring out somewhere, and I think I did put a little bit too much in the first layer. That's why it's coming out. So I'm always a bit too generous with the filling, and I must say this happens very often to me. But I wanted to show this to you because I want to show you how you can solve this problem without panicking. So this is not going to ruin the cake. We are still going to get it nice and even, and I'm just going to show you what you want to do. So first thing I'm going to do is to just clean out these spots. So my cake is chilled now. If I touch the buttercream, well, it leaves a little bit on my finger, but it doesn't leave a spot in the buttercream. So I'm just gonna clean this off as good as I can on those spots where I have the leakages. So here I'm not gonna do that because here it's bulked a little, so I'm just gonna carefully check it like this. And I must be honest, I do feel a little bit bad when this happens in during filming, but then what I think is this is great because I can show you how to solve the problem. So I still have some buttercream in my piping bag, and now what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna run around the whole cake and make a really thin layer of buttercream. So then we have a layer of buttercream all around the cake, and I also have here the spatula again, this offset spatula, and also I have a bowl handy where I can scrape off the excess. So now you just want to start evening out the cake. And because we have those spots where it's bulking, I would suggest just to carefully first kind of even out. Or we have the spots where we have a little bit, or I have. Hopefully it's not gonna happen to you, but you just want to kind of start evening out that buttercream all around the cake. And what is happening at the same time is you're covering those places where you had some leakage. So now what I have here is like a really rough layer of buttercream, and well, it's not even. So first of all, before we go on to that, I'm just gonna add or even out the top as well a little. So I only added a little bit on top, so I have like the crumb coat on top. So now you will need a different tool, so this kind of a scraper, and what you want to do is to hold the scraper on this kind of an angle onto the cake and just gently, sorry for the light, so just gently scrape off, not too deep, so try avoiding going too deep because we have those spots, or if you have those spots like I did where I had to cover with buttercream a little bit on the places where it was leaking. So it's a little angle, just start gently with just a little bit first. And after you've scraped off, you always want to clean your scraper so that you start with a clean scraper. So now I've gone around once and I see spots like here and there where I need to fill with a little bit more buttercream. So I don't want to scrape off more because of those places where I have leakages. If I would start evening out with the scraper more and more, I would end up scraping off the buttercream there where I have the leakages, and it would basically mean it's gonna leak through. So what I've done now is I've evened out the cake, so the surface is relatively even at this point, and I have noted or found the places where I need to fill in. So you want to grab the spatula, your offset spatula, and just, not necessarily this much, but you just want to kind of fill those spots where you can see that you need more buttercream. And at this point you just want to fill in, so you don't want to kind of start to even it too much. Don't spend too much time on that. Just cover the spots where you can see that you need a little bit more buttercream. And what you also want to do is to kind of allow the buttercream to peek through here on the upper side. That will help you to even out the cake later on, so even the top and have a nice sharp cake. We will need to do this a couple of times, so this is just the first time I've filled in, and now I'm gonna start scraping off again, and then you just repeat this until you are happy, until the cake is nice and even. And then you will have the spots again where you need to fill in, so you can see them right away. Here is a big spot there, so I'm gonna fill this in again. So now I've evened out my cake really well, but I still have one spot over here. You can barely see it, but it's still kind of leaking a little. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna roughly even out the top of the cake, and I'm gonna chill it again and then cover with a little bit more buttercream, and then this problem will be fixed. So as I said, I'm just gonna roughly even out the top at this point. So I want to do this with a clean offset spatula and just go around the edge, and without pushing too much, just evening out. You can see it's not quite I don't know if you can see, but it's not quite even at this point. That's something I'm gonna fix later once the sides are good. So once I'm happy with the sides. So now I've just roughly cleaned the top of the cake so that I can chill it. So now I've chilled my cake for the third time, and you can see the spot, my problem spot is there. So now I'm gonna cover again with a little bit of buttercream. I'm gonna start with the spot that is causing me problems, and I'm gonna add like a thin layer of buttercream all over the cake, and then you know what we are gonna do, we are just gonna even with the scraper again to kind of get it even. So now we have a small layer of buttercream, so an extra layer to cover that one spot, and I'm gonna go around again with the scraper first, just gently, so that you don't scrape off that spot where you covered. So just gently. You will again notice you'll have places where you have a little more and where you have a little less. So just go around first, and then I'm gonna do just another round where I scrape it even. Now I'm just gonna show you just shortly how it looks at this point. So you can see the spots again. They're not as deep this time, so they're just, oh, I guess oh, I got my finger in there. So it's just a little that I need to fill in at this point. And so this should be the final layer that I've added. So now I just want to scrape it nice and even, and make sure your scraper is always nice and clean. So again, first start gently because you want to scrape off the excess. So now if I go around, you can see there are no spots where I have this kind of holes. So now what you just need to do at this point is just scrape really gently to kind of get the cake nice and even, so you don't have any uneven points like this. So just really gently, and even if you have just a little buttercream on your scraper, make sure it's always absolutely clean when you go around the cake. So once you're happy with how the cake looks, so how the sides look, we can move on to getting the top even. So once you're happy with your sides, you can move to making the top. And I don't know if you can see it on the video, but there are some spots where the top of my cake is uneven. So if I hold the spatula straight from here, you can see here's a spot where I need to even it a little bit. So what you want to do there is just add buttercream, as much buttercream to kind of, when you hold the spatula straight, it doesn't have a hole under it. So I want to go around the whole cake and kind of fill in those spots. So this is my high point. I don't need to add any more over there, just to kind of cover the dough or the cake layers so that I don't see any of that. But apart from that, I don't really need to add any extra. But then when we move here, you can see if I keep the spatula straight, then there's a hole, and that's where I need to fill in. So now I've filled in everywhere. I just want to go around again, and I can see now I have filled the center, but some of the sides need a little bit more. And the easiest way to see this is to look at your cake from a straight angle. So you want to sit down and have your cake right in front of you, then you will be able to see whether it's nice and straight or whether you need to correct somewhere. And then we just want to clean the top. Again, you want to do this with a really clean spatula. I'm kind of scraping off and then, or evening, and then also filling in those spots where I notice as I go that I need a little bit more. And then I'm just gonna go and check these spots as well. So this is the edge of the cake. So if I need a little bit more somewhere, I'm adding there a little. So I want it hanging over the edge a little, so that when you clean the sides again, you will be able to make it nice and smooth. So then it's looking like this. You might think it's a lot of work. Once you get there, it's not as much work as it looks like. It's just how you do it without a lot of tools. So you could make it with this plate that you add here on top of the cake, and then you have the cake board at the bottom, and that makes it obviously much easier. But I wanted to show you how you do decorate a cake and get it as straight as possible without a lot of different kinds of tools. So now we are back at the sides. I have made sure that everything is looking nice here. Actually, you could make sure a little bit earlier, so you could skip this point if you do that right away. I usually just like to get my sides straight and then concentrate on the top. So now we're gonna just scrape gently one more time to get the top really nice and smooth. And then we have one last step, and that is to get these sides also nice and even. And the best way to see that is also to look on this angle on the cake, so you can see where the buttercream is peeking out. And you just want to, again, like this, on this angle, go around and kind of even out the buttercream onto the cake, just like this. And always clean the offset spatula completely before you continue. So after each time, just clean it first. So that's my cake ready. It has a nice and even top, it has nice and even sides, and it's ready for decoration. So I rarely keep my cakes like this. That's why I also don't like to worry too much about if it has a line somewhere or if there are some little bubbles or somewhere like that, because well, there's gonna be other decoration as well, and as long as the cake is nice and straight, I'm happy. I hope you also find this helpful, and I hope you were able to see everything. The light was a bit tricky today with sun coming and going, so I really hope everything is nice and visible for you, and let me know if you have any questions. As I said, I'm gonna continue decorating the cake, so at this point, if you are going to do the same, even if you're just adding sprinkles or if you're doing a drip or some piping, I would suggest to chill the cake at this point again until it's nice and firm, and then you can continue decorating it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope it will help you stacking your cakes and getting your cakes covered beautifully in the future. If you have any further questions, please feel free to ask me in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget that thumbs up for support, so I also know that you enjoyed it. And if you're new to my channel, then you can subscribe right now, and if you tap the bell, then you won't miss any of my new videos. And I will definitely be sharing more videos on cake decorating and useful tips for making cakes. Thank you for watching my video. Bye bye until next time.